Although I am involved with CADAC, the Center of ADHD Awareness Canada, the views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of the participants and do not reflect those of CADAC. And now, cue the music.
This is the Impulsive Thinker Podcast, a show for high-achieving ADHD entrepreneurs. Together, we will inform and educate you about how to improve your self-awareness while developing systems, routines, and habits for conquering the entrepreneurial world. Here is your host, Andre Brisson.
Hey there, it's Andre here with another short for the Impulsive Thinker Podcast, the podcast for the high-achieving ADHD entrepreneur. This episode is brought to you by CADAC, the Center of ADHD Awareness Canada. You can get more information and you can donate at www.cadddac.ca. This week you heard Don Bart and I talking about using ADHD as an excuse. And in the same conversation, Don also made a comment about how labeling is disabling. And honestly, I agree with that. Yet at the same time, I do think that labeling can also be a positive thing. And I want to discuss this a little bit here. When people use things as an excuse, be it ADHD, other people get in the way, I got a certain personality and I just can't do that. I agree with him then that is disabling. That label that they're putting on themselves is disabling. I would just prefer if people would just own it. Say I don't want to try and achieve it, and don't make excuses. For me, excuses, it frustrates me. Just own it. Say exactly what it is you do or don't want to do. It doesn't matter if you don't want to do it. Just say you don't want to and stop making excuses. So in that case, it is disabling. And my favorite here is when people use, let me rephrase that. For Don's example, that labeling is disabling is the typical situation is when other people use these labels to judge you, to derate you, to be rude to you, and to excuse you. Yes, in that case, it is very disabling, those labels. But again, what's the intent of the labels? We got to question ourselves here. Is the intent to make an excuse? Negative. Is the intent is to make a decision or a judgment on someone because of a label? Usually that has to do with a reflection of the person, not necessarily the person that they're dismissing. And what is the intent of the label? Okay. So on the flip side, I do see labeling as a positive, but only when you see it and that you take action on it. Okay. There's a difference here. The label can be disabling when you determine or decide not to take action on it, or someone else is using it to judge you or to make an excuse to be rude to you. Now, on the flip side, the label can be positive if you gain awareness and you're going to take action about it. And I'll give you an example here. A couple, maybe a few. We'll see. I see labels, in my view, labels as an explanation and what to do with it now. Okay? It gives a name to things so we can gain awareness and take action. So when I was diagnosed with my ADHD, immediately my last 40 years made immediate sense to me. And like Rick Green always says, that invisible opponent that kept sucker punching you all the time was now called out, named, and now we can see it. I saw that label of ADHD. I know everyone hates the term ADHD. I do too. But you know what? In the end, it's just a term. It's how you interpret it that it becomes a positive or negative. So that term ADHD, I don't care what it means to people. I know the words it's not really accurate. But in the end, ADHD to me is a positive because now I know what's going on. I know my brain is different. I know how my brain does not fit in with society and how things are normally done. So that label I took, I understood more and I took action, and that awareness helped me. So that label there is positive. The other thing too is when I was diagnosed with Asperger's, that made a lot of sense. Asperger's is on the autism spectrum. You know, it gave me clarity on a lot of my uniqueness of my social Andreisms or oddities from the norm. And again, that label had a positive impact on me because now I understood a lot of parts. I'm able to separate what the ADHD brain affects me or where I strive. Same thing with my autism side of my brain where I strive and where it causes me difficulties. knowing those labels, I now understood how I can manage my ADHD and my Asperger's, just like I did with my diabetes. The same thing with diabetes. It's a label. Yeah. And again, just a word. What does it mean? Well, it means I have a health condition that if I don't take care of it can kill me. So I decided to take action and manage it. Because of that label, being diagnosed with diabetes, I was able to take action by eating healthier and more exercise. And now I control the diabetes and it doesn't control me. Just like I control my ADHD and autism and it doesn't control me because of those labels, I took action. And the other thing too here is I see these labels for others. I do use labels. We all, don't tell me you don't label people. That's bull. We all label people. We all label situations. And again, I'm going to put this out there. What was the intent of the label? I label things and people so I can understand their uniqueness. I use it for positive. I want to understand, do you have ADHD? Yes or no? Do you have autism? Yes or no? Are you a narcissist? Yes or no? All these labels gives me an explanation of the person and what makes them unique. And that helps me interact with them effectively and efficiently. By me understanding them with these labels helps me interact and find the true person. And I think that's a positive. I'm not using these labels to say, oh, you have ADHD, you're a cluster, you can't be relied on. No, that is disabling. That kind of attitude is disabling. One of my brother's friends, he's in a wheelchair. And I remember someone saying, oh, I feel so bad for you, you're in a wheelchair. And his immediate reply was, I can't understand how you guys can stand up all day. That seems tiring to me. In his mind, being handicapped, physically disabled was not a negative label to him. He took it as a positive. He can do other things still. So it really has to do on the intent and how we're doing things and how we treat other people. Because look at it this way. Your name is a label. If your name is Roger, it immediately gives me a negative response because I had a Roger in grade school was the biggest, rudest, just the biggest pain in my butt. And every Roger I meet, I'm sorry, has an instinctive negative reaction. So that's a negative label. And that's disabling for the Roger I just met because I don't know the person yet. So if your name is a label. So if people are good with the name or you're good with the person, it becomes a good positive label. To me, words are words. How you interpret them, how you take offense to them, or how you take comfort in them is your decision. And I challenge that with every word that's out there. The interpretation is by the person. It's not the word that is wrong. It's the interpretation and how people use those words. And I think I'll leave with that at the end there is words are words. So how you want to use them, positively or negatively, is up to the person. And that's why I see, and I agree with Dawn, that labeling is disabling when used for a dark side of the force. Sorry, nerdism there. And I see it as a positive if you take it as awareness for you to take positive action and to use it to the benefit of the other people or for yourself. Not in a selfish way, but like I said, I use labels to understand the person more so I can interact with them. So I'd like to know your thoughts on what you just thought, what I talked about today. If you can email me at andre at andreb.ca. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Impulsive Thinker podcast. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion for the show, please visit theimpulsivethinker.com. The Impulsive Thinker podcast is produced by Tactical Breakthroughs and hosted by Andre Brisson. Remember, ADHD is only a part of you, not all of you.